Catharine Farrow, and thank you so much for joining us today. We are going to conduct a bit of an interview with you and get to know you a little bit as our recipient of the Distinguished Alumni Award. Thanks so much for being with us.
Oh, thank you. Pleasure to be here.
We'll get right into the questions, and I'm sure we'll expand and explore together as I ask these questions about you and your time at Acadia and your time since Acadia. So I'll start with the pretty obvious one, probably. What attracted you to Acadia in the first place?
Right. Well, first of all, and I'd like to thank the Acadia alumni for this prestigious award and all the people who are involved in the nomination. It really is an honor for me and for my family. So just like to kick it off with that. Acadia, okay, so I was there as a grad student, and so young, early 20s, just married. You really don't know where you're headed in life, but my new husband had a job in Wolfville, plus Wolfville had Acadia with Sandra Barr, who was really well known in the academic world, and her fields were, broadly in line with what I wanted to do at the time, which was igneous petrology and geochemistry. So I had a big scholarship at the time, and it seemed a great place to start, and it turned out to be.
I suspect that we may hear a little bit more about Dr. Barr as we process through the questions.
Oh, yeah.
So segue into the next question. Is there anyone you met on campus who particularly influenced your life and your career choices?
Well, yeah, definitely Sandra. And remember, at the time, I was pretty convinced I was going to be an academic. So, it was a great place to kick that off. And Sandra was my master's supervisor. But I'd also say Laura Sanders, Sanders, at the time, she was the coach of the women's varsity basketball and soccer teams. I was just finishing up my career as a varsity basketball player, and she was kind enough to make me an assistant coach on the team. And that was really good to be able to sort of look at the game from another perspective. And we built up a good friendship. And what's really cool is that very recently, only weeks ago, I've been able to reconnect with Laura after decades of losing touch, which is just fabulous. And it was just so good to hear her voice in her recent interview that I saw on YouTube and everything else. And we've exchanged, emails and pictures of each other's family and everything else. And it's just been super. And so, those things stay with you. And certainly Sandra, most recent face-to-face meeting I had with her was by chance about 2 years ago in Pearson Airport. I was traveling for work and she was traveling with her grandson. But we do keep in touch, Sandra and I.
And it's wonderful that you've reconnected with Laura as well. So as a grad student, a new marriage, coaching, how did you balance it all?
Oh, I've always been a busy person. Remember, I'd gone from being an undergrad and a varsity basketball player, always been busy. Still am, as you can probably tell. So, probably best to keep me out of trouble that way. There's no secret formula. You got to be organized and you got to work hard. And that's about all. But, you have to enjoy what you're doing too.
Yeah, keeps you focused.
Absolutely.
So what about your fondest Acadia memory? What kind of pops to mind if I pose that question to you?
Yeah, and you haven't popped the question. I don't have one specific memory because there's always a range of memories and friends and acquaintances, both within my chosen industry. I've talked about Sandra, but I've maintained friendships with people that I've worked with on and off in the industry who we met as, graduate students at Acadia. And so, and then outside of it, because remember, I was a graduate student with a husband who was working. And so a range of different experiences outside of Acadia, but because Acadia is so inherently ingrained in the Wolfville experience, even when you're meeting people who aren't directly other students, it's so tied, and very often they've gone to Acadia at one time or another. So, it was a very different world than what you might hear from past undergrad students. But I think so, if I was going to wrap up, I would say that it's much more about the experiences and about the people and about the relationships overall. It was a really busy 20 months. Ask Sandra, I was one of her fastest master's students. So it was pretty intense, kind of a whirlwind sort of adventure.
Yeah, a master's in 20 months is pretty impressive.
It was fun. We were on a mission. Yeah, I think I remember it was Sandra said to me one day, I was writing, and she said one day she walked in my office and I was working, and she said, "I think we can graduate you in the next graduation." And I'm like, ah. That meant a lot of 24-hour days.
Absolutely. So, when you at the beginning of the interview, you took that moment to say thank you for receiving the award into the Alumni Association. Tell us a little bit more about what it means to you to have received the Distinguished Alumni Award.
Well, it's humbling, really, because you consider the people, the amazing people who've graduated from Acadia over, past century and a half, well, more than that, much more than that now. And so, I mean, what can I say? The list goes on and on. So it is very much a humbling experience. And yeah, I was thrilled. It was just, my whole family and I we were really thrilled.
It's always an absolute joy on behalf of the Alumni Office and the Office of Advancement, and on behalf of the Alumni Association. And certainly the president of the Alumni Association loves it when they, and in this instance, Donnie, is able to share the news with our award recipients. So it's a great part of the program, and we do enjoy doing it. So why do you think it's important for the Alumni Association to recognize members of the alumni community in this way?
Well, I think, first of all, from my personal experience, remember this was 2020, the beginning of basically the country was on lockdown and everything else. So aside from it always being a good idea to celebrate achievements in anybody's life, I mean, this was really important because we were all hiding out. We didn't know where this was going to go. Not that I'm saying we do now. But unfortunately, it seems to be sort of the human condition that we learn the most from the negative experiences, and we're most influenced by them. And yet we shrug off the good things. And I really, so for that reason, it's just the human condition. I really think it's important to share positive stories, and that is heartwarming, and it builds momentum, and momentum is always good for us. It generates a lot of positive energy, and I like that, and that's the way I've tried to evolve as a leader in the various things I've done, and it also shows that the small school experience is vibrant and it's very relevant. And I think in the past year, that's even more important because we've been forced to become more and more disconnected from our relationships by doing this, for example, and not sitting in a room breaking bread with a whole bunch of people. And in a lot of cases, it's that interpersonal relationship, face to face, not on a flat screen, that's the stuff that brings us joy and brings us energy, no matter what we're doing. And despite that, the workplace is going to change in the future a little bit. There still will be that need to connect. And I know in a lot of the companies that I work with, people are just about done with this and they need the opportunity to get face to face. So this is just another way of really accelerating that joy and positive energy.
Mm-hmm. The positive energy, you're absolutely right. And being able to focus on that and that energy and the spreading of that energy, spoken like a true geoscientist. It is unfortunate that we aren't able to celebrate this with you in person. The upside, and I've seen it over the last year, is being able to connect with people around the world effortlessly. So. Yeah. If we talk about that, focusing on the positive and the number of people in our alumni community who will be able to view this and experience our interview with one another and the other award recipients is so much easier and less taxing for people to click a button and watch, as opposed to, traveling around the globe or making an effort to get somewhere in person. So while we all look forward to seeing each other in person, and certainly we can't wait to see you in Wolfville again, this is a great way to take care of it in the meantime and make those positive connections. Yeah. So you've written in the past about the influence of family and professors and colleagues, and the value of a broad-based background in the geosciences. How influential has Acadia been in creating your academic foundation, and what the comparative value of a small school versus a so-called bigger school experience?
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, and at the risk of going on and on for hours, which I could with all the people who have certainly mentored or influenced me, both positively and negatively. First of all, I couldn't have achieved anything without the support of my family. And we're small, but we're hardy. My husband, David, and my son, Wilson, and also my sister, Sarah. She's put up with a lot for me over the years. Still does. Anyway, and I know if my parents were still with us, they would be very proud. But from an academic perspective, I mean, really, Sandra was a huge influence, because there weren't a lot of, when I was graduating, even as a graduate student, there weren't a lot of women, even on the academic side, really. Certainly that's changed over the decades. And in my industry, I was the only woman in the room for a long time. It wasn't until recently that's really started to change. The other person is Dave Watkinson. He was my PhD supervisor. After I left Acadia, I went and did a PhD with Dave Watkinson of Carleton University. Just a fantastic guy, and really, really enjoyed my time with him, and we built a really good friendship. I would say colleagues that I've worked with in the industry, once I got going, I would say Dick Alcock. He was my supervisor for a very short time before he retired at Inco. But really, I saw him recently because I nominated a friend of mine for the Canadian Mining Hall of Fame, and I managed to get Dick to write a letter. And it was just so much fun to catch up with him again. So he was huge. He probably doesn't know that, but that's okay. I would also say Pierre Lassonde, Franco-Nevada. Just a wonderful philanthropist, highly intelligent, has just done brilliant things both in the industry and philanthropically in Canada and the US, and has always been a great source in the last few years of a lot of wisdom for me. And the other one is my collaborator, longtime friend, partner in crime, if you will, Gord Morrison. We're still very good friends. We've been through a lot together. We've built mines together. We found mines together. We've worked all over the world together. He's just, can't say enough. There are so many others who've mentored me and influenced me, but I can't, we can't go on forever. So on to the next item, which was broad-based education. And I really believe that is important. I think sometimes we're trying to get kids to streamline too quickly sometimes, because really when I think of where I was at in my early 20s when I went to Acadia, I really had no idea where my life was headed. I thought I was going to be an academic. I was going to go do a PhD and a postdoc and everything else. But I did know that I wanted to be a geologist, and really thought I had a plan, as I just said. But really, I couldn't have planned what I've experienced and done in my life or career. Did I plan to be the CEO of a company that we built from scratch and then went and built a mine complex in the Arctic? Probably not in my early 20s. Maybe I'm a bit different than most, and I didn't really end up specializing in anything. Yes, I'm a geologist, but lots of people have mistaken me for various other things. Some of them I can't name here, but everything from an accountant to an engineer. And, it's been both a curse and a gift. It's been a curse because people say, well, what are you? But it's also been a gift because it's allowed me to not be afraid to step out of my box. You know what I mean? And that broad-based academic foundation allows you to build that love of learning, really. And so that you're more adaptable and you're more able to extend yourself. So it wasn't so much what you learn in a book or in class. It's what you learn about yourself and your ability to learn. And I think that's the biggest thing. About a small school versus a big school, I'm a big proponent of the small school experience. It's personalized. It can build student confidence, and sometimes, when you're going to school, if you're in your late teens, early 20s, a lot of us are battling confidence issues, and there's more of a feeling of community, especially as an undergraduate, that you'll feel. But you get it as a graduate student, but you're going to get that at a big school in some cases too. And I'm affiliated in many ways with Laurentian University. Am I allowed to say that here? I think I am. Which is, given their recent announcement of entering into CCAA. And their financial challenges, it really worries me, and I worry about the future of small schools in the present day government funding environments. And so, that is a concern of mine. And how do I watch my 17-year-old son now watching Laurentian in his hometown crumble around him, and he's really questioning the small school experience, and that's too bad.
So lots of ground covered there, Catherine. Thank you for sharing all of that with us.
Well, that was a ground covering question.
It certainly was, wasn't it? Part A, part B, and part C. So what I really got from that, all kinds of things, of course, but you spoke so highly of so many people. And I must share with you, in terms of the nomination for you to receive this award, to know that you have become that person for so many people, and really affected a lot of people, certainly glowingly in the letters of support that were received for your nomination. It's always enjoyable for me, and having been at an academic institution for so long, to see that full circle, and really appreciate what you give you get, and what you get you give, kind of thing. So it's wonderful to hear that story. And your list of accomplishments and accolades is impressive, to say the least, and a lot of your experiences that you've had already, which segues into the final question I have for you. And honestly, it's probably my favorite question that I've been posing to our award recipients. And that's, tell us a little bit about what you're doing now, where you are now, and what the future looks like for you if you had a crystal ball.
Well, my crystal ball in my early 20s when I was at Acadia didn't work very well. So I'll see what I can do to polish it up in the next couple of minutes. I currently sit on some public company mining boards, Franco-Nevada, which I talked about, Pierre Lassonde, Centamin PLC, which is a UK-based company, and Eldorado Gold, which is headquartered in Vancouver, but listed on the TSX. They have operations all over the world, so I'm still running all over the world, or worrying about all the rest of the world. I'm also with a variety of smaller private companies. For example, I'm chair of Exiro Minerals, a combination sort of tech exploration company. I work with a variety of companies like that. That are in an advisory sort of role, both in mining exploration and also industrial Internet of Things, which I've gotten involved in the last couple of years. I think that kind of spun out of trying to build a mill for a mine, is that you realize that kind of connectivity is so important and so key to us moving into sort of that, next stage in development of understanding data. So I'm always plotting and scheming to participate in a variety of business ventures, both inside and outside the mining industry. I mean, frankly, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up yet. So I had mentioned I work a little bit with Laurentian University. I've been an adjunct prof there for, I think, close to 25 years. I'm chair of the Mineral Exploration Research Center there, which is in the process of executing on the Metal Earth project, which is the largest ever in Canada geoscience project run by a university or consortium of universities. I also sit on the Goodman School of Mines advisory board there. I also sit on a variety of government-related advisory boards and panels, from everything from the mining industry right through to women in business. And finally, something that's been a real stretch, when I talk about stretching oneself, I'm on Capital Oversight Committee of Metrolinx, which is the largest commuter road and rail agency in North America, and it serves, of course, southern Ontario. I mean, essentially feeding into Toronto. So, you know, working on massive public infrastructure capital projects is just mind-blowing, and makes anything that we're doing in the mining industry, including building mines of a few $1 billion, a paltry few $1 billion, look like a walk in the park. An absolute personal stretch and professional stretch for me, but fascinating, I must say. Most importantly, my family and I are trying to get used to me being home a lot, which I'm sure is sometimes a little bit of a stretch for them. Which is not really my history, but I'm trying to be the best mom, wife, and sister that I can be. So the whole idea is get the crystal ball working positively in that direction. We'll see what else follows, but there's more to come. I'm not done yet. I'm still kicking. Even if my knee is falling apart, I'm still kicking.
Use the other knee.
Yeah, that's right. Hop.
Never a dull moment. And certainly you sound incredibly busy. I'm not surprised to hear you say that you're not stopping anytime soon. It sounds like it's a lifelong passion to learn, yes. which is incredible. And as I say, I mean, that's a lot. And you said keeping yourself busy, keeping yourself organized, and that's what's perhaps going to keep you out of trouble. I said perhaps.
Yeah, perhaps being the operative. I still find ways.
Listen, Catharine, Dr. Farrow, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you once again. It always is when we're able to connect. Congratulations on your receiving the Distinguished Alumni Award. Acadia, the Alumni Association, couldn't be prouder to bestow it on you. And it's been a pleasure chatting with you today. We wish you all the luck in everything that you plan in your crystal ball for the future. And good luck to Wilson on his decisions in the next few years.
Well, thank you very much. Maybe Acadia will be in those decisions. Anyway, thank you. And again, it's just a thrill for me and my family. And thank you very much to the Alumni Association.